Good evening. Welcome to the Late Late Show with me, Irish Tommy. Going to be with you for the next hour or so to talk all things West Ham. Before I do that, as always, give a quick check on the chat and see who's in the house. Usual, as always, even Tommy, even y'all trying to beat Leeds tonight, 5-2. Marshall scored a hat-trick. Yeah, he looks really tasty, Callum Marshall. It is an eye-catching title to generate plenty of interest. Tim's getting it done. Even usual. And so we got Surreal in there. John is in there, obviously. Eddie, even Tommy, you just question everyone else. Evening, Eddie. How you doing, mate? Thanks for being here. Who else we got in here? Surreal says, good evening, Tommy. How's life in the kingdom? Life is good. Life is good. Gary J as well is in. How's it going, Tommy? Going well, Gary. Hope you're well, mate. And Hammers Mikey is in as well. Evening all, even Tommy, mate. God bless them, Steiden. Now we all need is my fuck off. Tell us what you really think, Mikey. Yes. So just to Hammers Faithful, evening, mate. That's in IX top. Is it a sign? Yes. Okay. So I bought this, the Three Little Birds IX one from last season because it's fucking mustard. It's such a nice top. I love the colors. So I got this. So basically, I thought it was apt to wear it tonight because obviously we've already signed Edson Alvarez from IX. I got to see him make his debut. I was at the game against Chelsea. So that was really nice. And now it appears we're about to swoop once again and take their best player off them, which is Mohamed Kudus. Scored a hat-trick last night, albeit against Ludogorets, but still. Unbelievable stuff if we get this one over the line. So I thought it was apt to chuck on my IX top tonight, seeing as we're doing some tidy business with them this summer. I tell you, like, when it comes to transfers, I generally don't get too personally involved. I mean, mentally involved in transfers, especially incomings, particularly because we get linked to a huge number of players every summer, the vast majority of which are non-runners, non-starters. We were never going to try and sign them. It's just to, it's the off season, and so all these people and social media and the papers and everything and talk sport and they need something to put out. So they'll make up all kinds of crap about links to this player and that player. So I take it all with a pinch of salt. My attitude really is let me know when they've arrived for the medical, and then I'll get excited. I was that way when we were linked to all the players this summer, including the ones I believed, by the way. Even if I believe the link that there is genuine interest there, because there are some good sources who usually have their finger on the pulse and don't tend to put out bullshit. So even when we get this stuff from sources who are very good sources, I don't get too excited, even if I really like the player, because I don't want to get my hopes up and then, it turns out we either weren't really in for them or it never got close or some other club comes in and they go there instead or something. So I don't get my hopes up. So then I can't really be too disappointed. It was that way with James Ward-Prowse. It was that way with Alvarez, Mavropanos. I didn't get too hyped up about it. I only took any real interest once they kind of had arrived in London that they were doing their medical at West Ham. I'll be honest, this Mohamed Kudus deal was different. Mohamed Kudus is a player I was aware of. I was aware that this was a 23-year-old Ghanaian international playing at Ajax who was very, very highly thought of and highly sought after. And so I figured, this summer he's going to go to one of the major European clubs, playing Champions League. Going to be a great player going forward. I didn't think he was a player that we could sign, if I'm completely honest. I just didn't think Kudus was the kind of player that would end up coming to West Ham. I thought bigger clubs would one of them would sign him. For some reason, that hasn't happened. Probably a variety of reasons. Maybe some clubs, a lot of clubs in Europe, let's be honest, they're not exactly flush with cash, and I guess they have to prioritize where they make their signings, and maybe that position just wasn't a priority, or they just didn't have enough cash to splash that much money on a single player. And of course, there's some of the clubs that could afford and maybe just slightly preferred some other target. But for various reasons, probably, Mohamed Kudus is still available. And we decided to go get him. And at the moment, it looks like we have. Supposedly, everything is in place. We've agreed terms with Ajax. Terms with Kudus and his agent are not a problem. Apparently he's going to be in London tomorrow for a West Ham medical. And this is the point where I normally start to get excited when the players are coming for a medical the next day. But I won't lie, because I thought so highly of Mohamed Kudus, I really got excited the moment this looked like it was a serious bid from us and a serious attempt to go get him, and that it actually could potentially happen. That's when I got really excited, and I don't normally allow myself to do that. This guy is so good, and he's not even in his prime. He's 23. He's still going to get better. I think he's going to be unbelievable in the Premier League. He's just absolute mustard, and I'm really excited. I mean, if something were to happen like very late on and they still got hijacked by somebody really late on in the day, I'd actually be really gutted. Really gutted. I mean, I desperately want this to happen. Just an unbelievable player, Kudus. And we should all be very excited about this signing, especially given that he's not a Paqueta replacement, that we still have Lucas Paqueta as well. So to have both of those on the side, I mean, we've now got two genuine flair players who, in different ways, they're not the same player, and I'm not suggesting that, but we've got two players that have some magic about them. That can really make things happen, and hurt our opposition and do it in a way that gets people off their seats. This is wonderful if this does get finalised, and it seems that it will. I'm really excited about this one. So fingers crossed. It looks like it's there. He has apparently had interest from the Saudi league as well, kind of late on, but given that he's 23 and he's so talented and that he's ambitious, thankfully that was a non-starter for him, which is good to see, because that would have been a terrible move at his age, with his ability to become a kind of forgotten man in the Saudi league. A waste of his time, a waste of his talent, regardless of the money involved. I mean, let's be honest, it's not like he's going to get paid peanuts at West Ham, is it? He'll be on a very nice wage. And this is him now in the Premier League shop window. And if he does brilliantly for West Ham, he'll get his move to a top club. So that this move made sense for him. And I have to say, you all saw the thumbnail, I hope, with Tim Steiden's Mile High Club. When Tim Steiden sets his sights on a player and decides that he's going to go get him, he fucking goes gets him. It's really impressive. So that's why I call it Tim's Mile High Club. He does like to get in his private jet and fly off to wherever he needs to fly off to, and he's like a dog with a bone. He just won't let go of it. Like it's he had to work very hard to get a deal done with Ajax first, and then he obviously had to use all of his powers of persuasion to get Kudus to East London, and he's done both of those things. So kudos to him, because I tell you what, if Sullivan had been in charge of this doesn't get done. I'm absolutely convinced of that. So this is wonderful news. I mean, the Alvarez signing was a very good signing. I mean, he's a really good player. Very happy with that. And equally, James Ward-Prowse, very good signing, I think. I think we saw at the weekend against Chelsea. He's just an assist machine. Good player. The same with Mavropanos. I think he'll be a really solid centre-back for us, be a good player. Aguerd's position now is under threat, make no mistake about that. He could displace Aguerd in that team. He's good enough to do it. So again, very happy with that. But this one is different. This is different. This Kudus deal has just got my juices flowing, and I cannot wait to see him make his debut for West Ham. It's going to be so brilliant to watch. The question, of course, will be where you play him. Now he is actually very versatile, but not in the Ben Johnson type of way. He's not. Ben Johnson is kind of jack of all trades, master of none, whereas Kudus has played in various positions, but he plays them all comfortably. Like, he's a top-class player in all of it. He's played up front as a striker, very good up there. He's played in the right wing, excellent out there. He's played as a 10, as an 8, and he's absolutely fantastic in all of those positions. Now, the position Moyes might put him in, I think, is the one position he hasn't yet really played in, which is the left side of midfield. He could come in and replace Benny. So we could have that three-pronged attack of Kudus, Bowen, and Antonio potentially, if Antonio is still here, of course. And that's exciting. I think. Look, if the guy can play up front, right wing, 10, 8, 6, wherever the fuck you want to put him, I don't see any reason he couldn't go out on the left-hand side and just do the same thing. He clearly doesn't mind where he's playing. He just gets on with doing what he does. So it'll be interesting to see, but I suspect it'll be on the left-hand side of that 3 that is where we'll see him. But I have no doubts about his ability to go out on that side and be brilliant. So that he's gonna cause untold problems to defenses. It's unbelievably exciting. I'm just going to scroll back up here and go through the chat, because when I'm on my own, I do like to try and bring the chat into it. And we're very busy in the chat. Where was I? I'm just going to see where I was before. Okay, I think it's from here. Ray Maury is in. Thanks for joining, mate. KPWHU, even if we're mostly happy hammers at the moment. Yes, especially if this Kudus deal gets over the line. Cape Figure, Tommy, great news. Fantastic signing with Kudus. Yeah. Hammer Mulder is in. Afternoon from LA. How you doing, mate? Good to see you. Where's Hammer Scully? Paul Evans in the house. Epic is in the house. Tommy, you got it that all these players are leaving your beloved Ajax. Yes, it's very sad for me. John is in. If we were in, so Cruyff, Neeskens, and Johnny Rep. Yeah, I tell you what, Johnny Rep doesn't get enough love. I know that everyone talks about Cruyff and stuff like that. Johnny Rep, what a player he was. Absolutely brilliant footballer. But no one ever talks about Johnny Rep. Maybe they do in Holland, I guess they do, but not really here. And I've got a special treat for you guys. Look who it is. Luke, how are you doing, mate?
I'm fine. I got the link that works. Yeah, it was the one I've sent earlier didn't work, so I had to get it working again. So I'm here. I'm all good. I'm here. I've had a few beers and all that, so I'm a little bit merry. Than I normally would be. So
the joys of technology. Yeah, I've just been rattling off about Mohamed Kudus.
Right.
I'm. This is like I was saying to the viewers a while ago. This is a player I actually know or knew before we were linked, and a player that I really, really highly rated,
Right.
but assumed was going to a major club. But as it turns out, he's coming to good old West Ham. He's coming to the East End, and I'll tell you what, I'm seriously excited about this signing, Luke.
I didn't know anything about him, to be fair, and this is what I was kind of excited about. That I had my Ajax shirt on yesterday actually as well. I've got last season's away one or the season before that. I think I tried to get the one you're wearing, couldn't get it in my size. It's still frustrating. I'm still trying to get hold of it. I kind of like the idea. I don't know much about these players. I didn't know anything about Alvarez. Didn't know anything about Mavropanos and Kudus. It's to me like it's fine and it's understandable trying to get players in with Premier League experience, like JWP and Maguire and that. But there is kind of like a luxury or like a luxuriousness to not knowing anything about a player, him signing, and then him hopefully hitting the ground running. And I saw a compilation video of Kudus the other day, and I was highly impressed. What impresses me more, though, and this is more than any clips can show you, is obviously, as we know, football, the modern football world, players can play in more than one position and normally do. But he's literally got the midfield and striker positions covered. And I've not quite known a player. Apparently, he's really good at them all as well. So Tim started getting these players in, and this one's being treated. The funny thing is, this one's being treated as almost like a record signing, or like the best player we get at the time. But we've spent the 40 millions and the 50 millions over the last few years, and they haven't worked out. And if we're getting this player for the same amount of money, but for the right reasons, then and it's actually going to fit our system, done our homework, etc., then I couldn't be more up for it. So I'm willing to be impressed, and I think he just sounds like the perfect buy for us, really.
Yeah, I suppose the big question is now, in his career, he's played as a 9. He's played on the right wing, 7 if you like. He's played as a 10. He's played as an 8, 6. And he's excelled in each position. Only position he hasn't really played in is left of midfield, and that potentially is where we would play him. But do you see Moyes playing him out on the left instead of Benrahma? Or do you think he'll chuck him up top instead of Antonio? Because you don't really see him getting in the midfield trio at the moment.
Well, this is the thing. This is the interesting thing about his history, where he's played in these positions, how he's played in them, how many times he's played in them. Because I don't really trust Moyes over the years enough to know where a player's best position is, because he always seems to put them where he wants to put them rather than where they're going to flourish. And the only one he really did that for, I think, was Lingard. He's been the only player that he really went and said, go on, pitch is yours, you do what you want, sort of thing. I think the most likely thing would be to put him on the left wing. I think he's got his midfield covered now. I think he's got the middle of it how he wants it, kind of thing, with Paqueta and Ward-Prowse coming in now, and Souček, he's like to get on form. I mean, he'd pick him anyway, if he's on form or not. But that left-hand side, Benrahma, I love him to bits. Seems like a great guy on his day, great player. But he's just so inconsistent, and his final ball is almost non-existent at the best of times. So as much as we love a player like that who gives us all 110% every game, if you have someone that can come in and is better in that position, then that's evolving. That's evolving as your team. So I don't think he'll come straight. I know he's been bought for a lot of money, but I can't see him coming in straight away. I think Moyes will do his normal thing of trying to sort of bring on the sub for the last 10 minutes of the game. Not obviously game at the Saturday, but the game after that, and try and win him in, maybe play him in a European game or a cup game or something like that. The way he does it, unless he's told not to and to do another way, but I can't see him being told to do that. But the most likely option would be left wing, and Benrahma being sacrificed for that.
Yeah, Benny's a frustrating player. Obviously, lots of talent there, but unfortunately, when he when it comes to the crucial moment, he kind of lets himself down far too often.
Yeah.
He can't cross a ball to save his life. His shooting is really poor, and often his final pass even is just the wrong option. So I definitely think we need to upgrade on that left hand side. I was at the game on Sunday. There's actually an echo. Can you hear an echo?
I tell you, I'm going to change my audio. Sorry, this happened last time. Sorry, it's my fault. Hold on. Should work better now.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, I can't hear him. Yeah, that sounds better now. Yeah, cheers.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was at the game on Sunday against Chelsea, and unfortunately, Benny was very wasteful. He got in some really promising positions and just really offered nothing in the final third, unfortunately. But that's Benny for you. He's very frustrating. And it's not personal. I like Benny. I wish he was more clinical. He'd be an unbelievable player if he was more clinical in that final third. But yeah, I think his place is gone basically now. There's absolutely no way that Kudus doesn't come in and do better than that. There's just no way. He's just too talented. So I think Benny will be back on the bench.
I think it might be an idea to try and put Benny in the middle at times. I'm not saying put him in like now. I mean like if you can play 4 hours against Bournemouth in the middle, then you can play Benny in the middle in that role. I think there's no thing against it. There's it's worth saying. I think he's played well when he's been in Central before, and I think he's a good player. His technical ability means that he can play somewhere like that. He's quick-footed. I think if you kind of said to him, look, don't worry about setting people up or putting crosses in. If you just do the running, dribbling, and you give someone else the ball or whatever, then that's your job done. But I think he's got the pace to be in the middle, the skills to go past a holding midfielder or two. So I think that if he's going to be in the team, might just need to change of position. We also saw how well 4 hours played against Bournemouth. So there's no reason why these players can't play in other positions or give them a chance there at least.
Yeah, I still think. Well, I think as long as Fornells is at West Ham, I think Moyes definitely sees Fornells as a better player centrally than Benrahma. I think Benrahma would find it tough, even coming off the bench, to get positioned in the centre anywhere. But we'll see what happens. Anything's possible. But I think you watched the Chelsea game. You saw it.
Yeah, I didn't go to the game unfortunately, but I saw it on TV, and I was, we got the win. That is the main thing. When all said and done, that's the main thing. Come out of nowhere for me with the Antonio goal. For me, the first half was mirror image of the whole Bournemouth game, especially in the second half, because we got the goal early, and then we decided to sit back and soak up the pressure for the next 45 minutes. And it was frustrating. I didn't like it at all. I just, I didn't surprise me one little bit that they scored. I thought they'd score earlier than that, if anything. But the second half, tactically, I think I'm always out. I don't think he's the best manager for us going forward. But everything he done in that second half, he got a spot on. Even when it was down to 10 men, his subs made sense. The way we set up the team made sense. The way the players come on made sense. So I've got to give him credit where it's due. It did go well, and we got the win. And I wasn't there, but I've heard the atmosphere was buzzing, especially after Paqueta's penalty went in, and it was like a party atmosphere sort of thing. Yeah. And that's what you want. As much as I myself and others might moan about the football and everything like that. The problem is that people like me, I'm just going to say for myself, is that sometimes I can be quite negative to the point where I cloud my own judgment. I can let a negative cloud the positive. And, if I'd have been in that game, I might not have even enjoyed the last goal, because I'd have been so downtrodden and frustrated about the way we play football. But at some point, I've just got to go, look, you can't play every game. I think the players are better than the system we're playing. That's basically my point. If we had terrible players, I can understand it, but we haven't. We've got really good technical players. And I think we should be playing a better, more modern system of playing, but we're not. And not playing that system worked for us on thing. And we've got Brighton next. I'm not going to say too much about it because I'm shitting myself. But if we can do the same thing and if we get a draw, that's a win to me. If we get a draw tomorrow, the way they're playing, the results are going, that's a win to me. So as much as I might want, nice football, good football, and whatever, games like that, Chelsea at home and Brighton away, I'm not going to sniff at the football. Just sometimes you've got to let the result be the result, and that's it.
Yeah, I agree essentially with everything you said. I mean, like I said, I was at the game, um, and we started off quite brightly actually from the kickoff.
We did.
And we said we scored an early goal,
Yeah.
um, and I thought, oh, this is what I wanted to see. Let's get after them and make them uncomfortable and ask some questions of them at the back. But for some reason, after we scored, we just completely retreated into our shell. And I'll tell you honestly, the rest of that first half after we scored was not good to watch whatsoever. It didn't look any better in the stadium than it did on TV. I can promise you that, Luke. It was, I was literally like standing there with Sinead, and we're just sitting back, defending in and around the edge of our own box. Chelsea have all the ball, and they're just trying to break us down. And I'm thinking, Jesus Christ, come on, we've got to have something going forward. We've got to have something. We can't sit back like this and have nothing going forward. It's just giving them the ball back constantly and sitting back and letting them play it about and letting them probe and probe and probe. They had one, obviously they equalised. They also had one goal disallowed for offside,
Yeah.
and missed a penalty. And so at half time, I'm thinking, oh, this is not going to be good. We're very, very lucky to be going in at 1-1. And if this continues, I mean, it's only a matter of time before they take the lead and we're bang in trouble. And thankfully, in the second half, we were much better. It has to be said. We were much better. I mean, we still essentially did allow them have a lot of possession, and we still defended stoically, but we were much better in bringing the ball out and trying to get some attacks going. We weren't completely defensive. We were able to get the ball out of our own half, at least on fairly regular occasions. But it still has to be said, the atmosphere really only, like the first half, the atmosphere was very flat. It has to be said.
Yeah.
It was really only after we took the lead that it picked up. And then when Paqueta scored the no-look penalty, that was when the atmosphere kind of really took off in the stadium, because when we felt, right, the 3-1 up, we've got this in the bag. Obviously, in between all of that, Aguerd got himself sent off for a second yellow. Thankfully for us, thankfully for us, because of the way we're set up and the way the team are coached, we're probably the team in the Premier League that are best able to cope with losing a man. It doesn't really throw us off our stride that much, because we're still doing kind of the same thing, kind of just as well as we were before. One less attacking player. Benrahma came off, but he wasn't doing a damn thing anyway. It was like playing with 10 men anyway with Benrahma on the pitch. So, nothing materially changed really. If anything, it just gave Emerson more impetus to try and make up for it down the left-hand side, and he ended up winning us the pen. So he did better than down that left-hand side when he got forward than Benny did. So, it was unfortunate, but just to speak on Aguerd for a minute, it's he's got, look, he made a brilliant challenge earlier in the half against Raheem Sterling in the box, right? And it's great when you see a defender come in, make a brilliant sliding tackle, timed perfectly. We all waxed lyrical about his challenge up at Newcastle last season.
Yeah.
One of the tackles of the season. And look, they're lovely to watch when that happens. So the challenge against Sterling was brilliant, but unfortunately, you do enough of those, you're going to come a cropper. And to me, like, he's kind of got to stop doing that. It looks great when it works, but sliding in like that, players are too crafty now. They see you coming in with sliding challenges, just nick the ball away and over your leg they go. He's going to get himself into a lot of trouble if he keeps on making these crazy sliding challenges. As nice as they are to see when they come off, I think he'll get a lot of cards this season if he's going to keep on making those type of challenges. He's got to try and stay on his feet and defend bloody properly.
Yeah, he's for me a 50-50 defender. 1 minute he does something world class, the next minute he's Sunday League or something. He's I think he panics a bit. I think he panics, and I don't know if he was like this at Rennes, but I think last season he was trying to prove himself after having the injury and coming back and trying to solidify himself was one of our main centre backs, and then against Bournemouth, he was exactly the same. One minute he was clearing a header out really well. The next minute he was miscontrolling the ball to him and letting it happen. I've got a lot of time for him, but it's like Zuma has to constantly cover for him in a way. Has to be there in case he makes a mistake. And the funniest thing about his second yellow against Chelsea was the fact that he was pleading innocence to the ref. And you see Antonio come from behind him going, "No, mate, no, that was a yellow card. But just get off the pitch because that was terrible." But I think he has it in him to. He's had a year. Well, he's had less than a year really to get to, but he knows the pace of the Premier League now. He knows, and as much as we're tight at the back, there's always going to be that one ball that slips through our defence and is going to leave Areola one-on-one. I think he tries to recover that. Normally, his sliding tackles are really well. I think he gets a bit overexcited, let's say, for some in some positions and just makes a rash decision. And I think if he manages to calm that and think things through a bit more, and split-second decisions in there, you ain't got time to think, but you need to have that sort of wherewithal to know what to do before the ball comes to you. But he's got it in him to be a really, really good defender. I'm not going to say world class, but I think he's got it in him to be a really class defender. And you know, it's funny because I was listening to the Iron Pod, the Ironcast, the podcast for West Ham that they do now when they introduce new players and stuff. And when they're done with Mavropanos and James Collins, they were both saying that the first thing they do, because I think it was in the press conference after the Chelsea game, they asked Moyes about the goals, and he said, the first goal gave us something to hold on to, and so did the second. Not let's try and score another, it's to hang on to. And the way that James Collins and Mavropanos talked to each other was like defend first, score later. That's the first thing. And I think, if Aguerd is, that's his mentality to defend first, that's fine. But he's got to make sure that every decision he makes is spot on, because he's going to get sent off more. And in a way, I kind of like it that the referees are card happy, because for so many years they haven't been. And there's no way we can really argue if our players are getting sent off making stupid decisions, unless we're getting the yellow cards and the big boys ain't, and that is unfair. But it might not be his first and only red card. He might get another. He's not a dirty challenger. He just doesn't think sometimes like some of our players. So he's very 50-50, and I think when you see him make a good challenge, now we're automatically going to expect him to the next one to be, is he going to, don't leave him one-on-one or something, So
yeah,
he's a good defender. I like him. I do like him.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, the right coaching and right words in his ear, he'll learn to hopefully stop those silly sliding tackles. He'll get himself bang in trouble. But overall, I guess, like you say, excellent result against Chelsea. I'll be honest. I mean, the style of play doesn't do it for me whatsoever. I'd much rather a different manager playing a much better brand of football, because you do want to be entertained at the same time, but I also look, it's a results business, and I guess the only way I will tolerate this kind of style of play is if it's effective and it wins us games, and allows us to have a good season. Then I'll say, okay, I don't like the style, but at least it's effective and we're getting some wins. But ideally, I'd like to see us playing a better brand of football. So it'll happen eventually. We get a different manager in and with a different style. I would have done it long ago, frankly.
I think my thing with Moyes, I don't particularly mind the style of play. I wish it was better, because I think we could play better if we wanted to, right? And buying JWP, the only reason why he's bought him in is because we set pieces, let's be honest. And it's fair enough. If that's how you want to go about it, fair enough, right? I think my problem with him, especially last season, was the fact that Souček had a terrible season for me and was still playing every game. The subs were too late. Players were overworked, i.e. Antonio. And he's made some comments over the last few years I just can't make sense of. So it's not just his style of play, it's his whole management system. And I think that, we really got a year of this left. at most with Moyes. So there's a part of me that, like, got to try and get some entertainment out of it. However much I can just decipher from the siphon from the gutteries that I'm watching. If it works, it works. And like I said, tomorrow against Brighton, if it works, I'll hold my hands up. Tactical genius for me is to beat Brighton. It's the first time since we've been in the Premier League is going to be a good one. But it's hard to watch, but it is what it is.
Just to clarify for 50 pence, my issue is not with counter-attacking football. I actually really like counter-attacking football. Nothing against it whatsoever. It's just that, unfortunately, we have kind of become a team over the last kind of couple of seasons that are actually struggling to play effective counter-attacking football. And it's not even a possession thing. I don't get too hung up on possession.
No.
I mean, I don't like it to be too low. I mean, I think it was 24% against Chelsea, and that for me is too low. We should be able at home, especially, to have a bit more than that. So I don't get hung up too much on possession, and it's not about the counter-attacking style. I don't need us to be a possession-based team. I just need us to be effective at what we're supposed to be doing. And we just haven't been nearly enough in the last kind of 18 months or so, especially. And it wasn't always that way. In the season we finished sixth, we were actually really effective on the counter-attack, and we were able to really hurt teams on set pieces. And those two things combined allowed us to be very effective. And we beat a lot of teams. So I don't, and we didn't have huge amounts of possession in those games either, by the way. So it's not about me having a problem with counter-attacking football. In fact, I actually quite like counter-attacking football over possession-based football. I actually prefer it. I prefer watching teams who are really great at counter-attacking rather than teams who are completely possession-based. Like, hand on heart, that prime Barcelona team who had unbelievable footballers and were, I think, undoubtedly the best club team in the history of the game. So I don't deny that. Or I understand how utterly brilliant they were.
Yeah.
They bored the shit out of me. I'm sorry, they bored the shit out of me. People were waxing lyrical. Oh, that's 50 passes. And I was like, I'm sorry, I've been bored watching them just passing the little triangles around the place. I understand it's technically brilliant. And they're brilliant players, brilliant team. But that style of play, honestly, just bores the crap out of me. I never really liked watching prime Barcelona. I'd much prefer watching, say, under Klopp, the way Liverpool have played. Remember when they had, when they were at their pomp? That Liverpool style of play, I thought was absolutely brilliant to watch.
I was about to say, I think Guardiola has changed the game in this country since he come over here. I think we're all trying to, the majority of teams are trying to play out from the back and a lot of teams can't do it. They're trying to do it, they can't do it. But I think when it was Liverpool, Man City, round about the 2018, 2019, 2012, maybe even a bit later than that, when they were them two again, I think they were getting like 2-2s because they just couldn't beat each other. They were just both at the same level. Liverpool were won their first. They were sort of a mixture of counter attack and intensive football. There wasn't much base, especially where Liverpool were concerned. Man City were more sort of possession based, but they had intensity with it. So the moment they got the ball, they maybe play a few passes for it around the back, but you knew at some point the ball was going to go to De Bruyne and he was going to do a defence cutting pass to Jesus, whoever's up front, and go from there. So I genuinely believe now, if you watch football across the Premier League, and maybe even anywhere, most teams now play a version of counter-attacking football. It is normally about a transition in football where defence comes back, and then as soon as they get the ball, it's all about the wingers getting the ball down to the left and right wing. The forwards are almost part of the midfield because they have to sort of supply balls to the wingers. Like Messi and Ronaldo for years. Right winger scoring, left winger scoring, converted to a striker. It was all about this. You got the wing play and the position play. It's not as cut and dry, but there's basically counter attack is there.
Whereas with that Liverpool team, they had no problem getting some players behind the ball and defending in numbers. But if you lost that ball to Liverpool, even in Liverpool's half, they could have the ball in your net inside 10 seconds.
Yeah.
I mean, they were just unbelievable. One pass and Salah's through, or Mane is through, or Firmino or someone is through, and all of a sudden you're bang in trouble. And it was just like that. And they had no problem playing direct balls over the top either for a runner. I just thought it was more exciting stuff really than the tippy-tappy stuff. But I guess it's horses for courses. Some people, maybe just were in awe watching that Barcelona team and just loved it and stuff. It just depends what you're into, really. So, but, I'd love to see us becoming lethal in the counter-attack. I mean, that would be... And we were for all... You remember when Lingard came in? How many times did we hit teams on the counter? Really quickly.
That year of... Not the year we were in the Europa League, the year prior, the Lingard year, and possibly a little bit before he come in, the 6 months before he come in, was probably one of the best West Ham teams I've ever seen. Yeah. It was the first time I was putting us on my hackers at the weekend, which I've never used to do, never trusted that. I was doing bet builders with Bowen scoring a goal, Lingard scoring. I was that confident that I think we had a little bit we had a month where we were going 3-0 up and then conceding 3 goals and drawing 3-3, which wasn't great. But there was a part of me that Bowen was on fire literally, and Antonio was every time he got the ball seemed like he was going to score a goal. US Fornell was hot. Benrahma, I think was really in the team then. He was sort of like a bit part player. Souček was scoring goals the minute the ball in the box, and then clearing them out the other end. We was intense. The difference was we were intense. We weren't just counter attacking. We were intense. You knew that we didn't have to have the ball, but as soon as we did get the ball, balls were straight up the other end as fast as we could get it there. Bowen was on the other end scoring goals. So we've lost a bit of that, and hopefully we get a bit back that with Kudus and etc.
Yeah,
this season.
Yeah, I think me and 50 Pence definitely have fundamentally different ideas about everything. I think QPR Everton Portsmouth said, tried being more positive. Sometimes you just need to know where you are as a club. It's not either or. It's not either or. Like playing a more positive attacking style of football.
I know where he's coming from, though. I do know where he's coming from.
Yeah, I understand the sentiment, but it's not like we're not Portsmouth. Let's be honest. We got the players we've got right now. Another manager coming in and playing a more positive attacking style of football doesn't mean all of a sudden we're going to lose every game and get relegated. It's not. I don't accept the premise of the argument that if you play positive football, you might get relegated. It's not how it works. Look, Brighton play lovely attacking football. Villa play some lovely attacking football. Neither one of those teams is in any danger whatsoever of going down. If we were to get in a manager who wanted to implement that style at West Ham, especially with the signing, we get Kudus over the line, Kudus, we can absolutely play that kind of football and win games of football doing it. So I hate this be careful what you wish for mentality. I mean, listen, we play the way we do under Moyes, and we flirted very, very heavily with relegation last season. So what do you make of that, 50 Pence? It's like we all last season almost got relegated. So
I think we're getting
I could sit here and say, well, if we played more positively and more attacking, we wouldn't have been anywhere near the relegation zone. Two can play that game. Listen, the style of play doesn't guarantee you anything in either direction. It's about getting the right manager in who implements a good style of play and then hoping you've got the players who can do it. And I believe we've got the players who can do it. Largely, there may be some exceptions. We may have to bring in a couple of players, for that new manager who will be better, maybe say better at right back than Safal. To implement his more attacking, positive style of play. Someone more like Emerson on that right-hand side. He might want a striker who's completely different to Antonio, who's a different style of player altogether. But by and large, I think with the players we've got, we could absolutely play a more positive attacking style of play. We got a lot of good players in that team when everyone's fit. So I disagree with this kind of notion that, well, if we played more positively, look at Portsmouth, we could end up in League One. I'm sorry, no, don't be dramatic. Portsmouth didn't go down because they played a nice, attractive attacking style of football. They just didn't have the players.
Well, that's the point as well, is the fact that, you could have a manager that walks in and goes, right, we're going to play this way instead now. We're going to be a lot more positive. We're going to do this thing and do that. And if you look at the players like, that have never played that way or been at teams that never play that way, if you're a great manager, you can maybe get it out of them, new style out of them for whatever reason. But normally, if you've got like an Everton and you've got a slow forwards and you're trying to play counter attack with slow forwards, it's never really going to work unless you put money in to sign players that are going to play that way. And that's where it can work out. But I get what I think where he's coming from is the fact that you can only play that way if you have the players to play that way, or if you have a manager to get the best out of the players that you've got to play a certain way. But if you just go, right, we're going to switch it up now and do this and that, it's almost like saying, right, we're going to play long ball and have Danny Ings up front. It's like you could play long ball, but Danny Ings is never going to be the target man you want.
Don't get me wrong. Look, we can't play that way under Moyes. He doesn't know how to implement that kind of football. But for us to play a more positive attacking style of football, we would have to have a different manager who wants to play that way and who already knows how to coach players in that kind of system, because that's just how he does it. But anyway, I just wanted to address that it's this notion that we'll end up in League One if we try to play more attacking style rather than getting defending around the edge of our own box for most of the game. Don't buy into that at all. Okay, I suppose, because I don't want to go on for too long tonight, I've got work in the morning, so we're going to have to address the bogeyman in the room, which is Brighton and Hove fucking Albion. We travel to the Amex tomorrow. I doubt I need to remind anybody of last season and what happened when we went down there. Got a very nice spanking from Brighton. A candidate for our worst performance of the season. We offered absolutely nothing, including any defensive resistance, really, which is something that you can normally bank on us on, really. But at some stage, look, we probably say this before every Brighton game, don't we? That at some point we're going to have to break this hoodoo. But given the way Brighton have started the season, it's probably not going to be tomorrow, is it?
Do you know what? I've got a funny feeling that we might do it tomorrow. Not win, maybe, but they've started off ridiculous, brilliant, like 4-0, 5-0, whatever you want to call it. 2 games, high-scoring games, players on fire. They're on top of the world. And this is the sort of time, if you look back at West Ham history, this is the time when you would completely write West Ham off tomorrow. It would be the most West Ham thing to go and get a result there. Mitoma, I think he's an amazing player, absolutely amazing. If it was me, I'd play 100 million for him. I really would. And
he'll be the next player. Yeah, he'll be the next player they lose.
He'll be the next Caicedo. I'm not saying he's going to come to us, but obviously, he'll go to someone. In my opinion, in the next year. So you've got him, plays. I think Sully Marks loves to score a goal against us as well. Glenmore ain't there anymore, so that's a bit weight off our mind. But I don't really rate our chances. But what I'm saying is that West Ham have a tradition of getting a result when you don't expect them to get a result. I'm not sure anyone thought we'd beat Chelsea 3-1 last Saturday, for example, especially the way the game was going, even during the game. So they've got to lose at some point. I don't think they've had 2 high-scoring games, last 2 games, and one was Luton at home, one was Wolves away. I think we're on a bit of a high at the moment. We've had that win. We've got the Kudus signing coming forward. We've signed Mavropanos as well. So we're sort of kind of on this little. We love doing this as well, riding the high and suddenly come back to reality of a crash. But I'm going to stick a tenner on us tomorrow to get a draw or more, because I do. There's a little feeling in the back of me thinking we can always keep losing to them, but there's certain vibes and energies in the world that sometimes they let down on you in a spine like day. And I think 5:30 on TV. If it's 3 o'clock, we lose 5-0 because no one's watching. I think with the fact that we're on TV, there's going to be a few heads out there that don't want to be embarrassed on national TV in front of everyone. So I'm hoping so anyway. But I think maybe a 1-1 or a 2-2.
Yeah.
I've got to hope. I don't think we're going to win. There's no chance we're going to win.
Yeah. Well, I get it. I get the arguments, right? That we beat Chelsea, and the other argument, of course, made by Downey 8 here. Brighton have played Luton and Wolves. It's hardly the most difficult fixtures in the league. I'll grant you both of those. We unexpectedly beat a star-laden Chelsea team, and Brighton's opening 2 games have not been the toughest in the world. I'll grant you that. But here's and look, don't get me wrong, I'm not writing us off tomorrow by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not writing us off. We're certainly underdogs, but I wouldn't write us off. Would I be shocked if we went there and got a point? Absolutely not. I'd be a little more shocked if we go there and beat them. I'll be honest, but it's possible. Look, it's sport. Anything can happen. But here's the worry I have with both of those aspects. Chelsea, despite their star-studded lineup, looked completely disjointed. They really did. They didn't look like a team that had any real flow to what they were doing. Kind of 11 individuals who were just knocking the ball about between themselves with no real rhyme or reason to it. So I think Chelsea and Pochettino still have some work to do to get that team to gel and to look like a proper unit. They don't, for example, the way City have the ball, lots of obviously star-studded team as well, but you can see exactly what they're doing. All the players are in sync. They all understand each other's job and their own job, and the movement is really good between them, and the understanding is there. You can see they're a proper team. You don't get that sense at all with Chelsea, at all. Now that they might improve in that aspect, and they might.
And they look good together.
Again, yeah, it was Luton, was it?
Yeah. It was Luton.
Yeah, but so we'll keep my powder dry on that maybe until they play another kind of decent side. But they might get it right. Pochettino's a good manager. I'm sure he'll work on it with them, and they'll probably improve and have a decent season. But the other side of it is saying Brighton only played Luton and Wolves. Granted, I'll give you that, not the toughest of opposition. But I think if you're a footballer, if you're a group of players, if you're playing really well and you're scoring goals and winning your first couple of games, I don't think it really matters who you beat. There's a feel-good factor to that, and there's a confidence that it gives you as a team and as a player yourself that you're playing well, your teammates are playing well, you're scoring goals. I don't think it necessarily matters who you're beating. If you're going out and playing really well and scoring goals and beating whoever's in front of you, I think that just gives you confidence regardless of the quality of the opposition. You feel good about yourself. You feel good about your game, about your teammates, the manager. Everything seems rosy. The supporters are clapping you off the pitch and cheering everything you're doing. And Brighton have that at the moment. They'll be at home tomorrow. That home crowd will be really looking forward to it. They'll be right behind the team. And I think that's why it's very, very important that we try to throw a spanner in the works early. If we can get at them early and get in their faces and knock them out of their rhythm early on, make life really difficult for them and make them realize, fucking hell, we're in a real game here. That might just shake them a little bit. What we can't afford to do, I think, is to be too negative, because Moyes will probably say, right, keep it tight early on, don't concede early. We'll be camped on the edge of our own box. We'll be doing what we did against Chelsea. They'll be getting all the possession. They'll be knocking on the door, probing, trying to break us down, trying to score. And that'll just keeps their confidence levels up. They think, oh yeah, we're in complete control again here. And God forbid they score early, in first 20, 25 minutes, go 1-0 up. And it's been all Brighton, because their tails are up then and their confidence, the crowd are singing, chanting. It'll be a disaster, potentially.
My only, just sorry to interrupt, my only thing, I just remembered this now, last season. My only glimmer of hope, really, looking back, is Everton went there and won, didn't they, last season, tail end of last season. One of the reasons why they stayed up was beating Brighton away. And I think everyone was shocked, couldn't believe it. So there is this sort of notion that, the manager said it was a blip because one game's a blip of a game. Hopefully they have another blip against us tomorrow. I think we'll concentrate on set pieces, so that'll be our one outlet to go for. But yeah, that Everton game last season when they went up there and beat them comprehensively as well gives me hope. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. Plus, another thing is if we do decide at some point, whether it's from the beginning or not, to press high, Brighton will always try to play through the press. Like they're really, really brave in possession at the back.
Yeah.
They will always try to play through the press. They won't panic. They won't start hoofing balls upfield. If we can press them successfully, really press, and I don't mean a half press where a couple of players go and the others kind of don't, and because they'll play right through that and we'll be in trouble. But if we properly press with everyone pushing up on them and they're trying to play out from the back, there's a potential there for us to win possession in their half of the pitch, it's always dangerous to cough the ball up when you're trying to bring it out from the back. You put yourself in trouble pretty quickly. So it'll be interesting to see if we try that. I doubt it, given that it's Moyes. I think he'll just allow them out with the ball, allow them to saunter into our half. We'll either defend around the edge of our box like they did against Chelsea, or maybe kind of start pressing them once they enter our half of the pitch, which I would take, given that it's Moyes we're talking about. But the importance, again, it stresses the importance once again of us finding a way to be effective on the counter. And the one thing we're really lacking right now is pace. Because if you're going to counterattack, you've got to have some pace. Obviously, not every player is going to be a speed merchant, but you're going to have some. And at the moment, we're really badly lacking in pace. So that's the worry. Is that once again, like we did against Chelsea for large periods, we're going to just struggle to get out of our own half. And especially when you think you've got a player in there like Souček as well. You know, passing is not his strong point. You know, he coughs off possession quite a lot. And not just him, you know, we've been guilty of it quite a lot. I mean, if Brighton press up on us and we're trying to come out, we're going to end up just playing hoofball up to Antonio. So it'll be interesting to see how Moyes approaches this one tactically, given that he will surely be aware that we've got to be better than we were against Chelsea on the counter-attack and that we've got no pace. So I'm not sure what the plan's going to be tomorrow.
No, it's this. I personally think it'll be set pieces. I think he'll try. He'll use Antonio as a battering ram like normal, but it'll be much more emphasis on height and balls into the box and things like that. And it will be. My only worry is that if we do go 1-0 up in the first half at some point, or if it's 0-0 or whatever, so we'll then pot the bus, and then we'll get dribbled out of the way. We'll get ghosted. So it's predictable, but hopefully it's not too predictable tomorrow. I hope he's got a few aces up his sleeve. I hope that he brings on subs at the right time tomorrow. Part of me doesn't even mind if we lose because I'm kind of expecting it anyway. I just want us to put in some sort of performance that we know that Chelsea weren't a blip, like that feel-good thing of us knowing that we the second half we picked it up and we played a certain game. That's not just a one-game thing. There's that, you know, first half against Bournemouth, we can recreate that again. So I think, you know, as soon as you see Ward-Prowse in the team, you kind of know what the game plan is anyway. But if it works, it works. You know, there's not, you know, there's nothing to say that it won't work. But you know, it's Brighton away.
Also, Moyes has got a couple of big decisions to make tomorrow, personnel-wise. Obviously, with Aguerd suspended, now he has said that Dinos is not ready to go yet. He's not fully fit. So it's either Kerr or Ogbonna, it would seem. I'd imagine Ogbonna is the front runner, being left-footed, wouldn't he?
I think he would be, but you've got to take into account his age and his mobility and the fact that he's going to go a whole game against Brighton's energetic forwards. I think he'll go with Kerr. I think he'll go with the energy, the fitness. You know,
they're kind of different players, but Kerr loves a header as well, so he's got no problem jumping up for a header. So I think he'll probably go with Kerr over Bonner, just purely based on the fact that Bonner's great if you're bringing someone in for maybe like a European game or something like that. But I think with the way Brighton are playing now with Mitoma and the energy they've got up front, Bonner's a fantastic defender on his day, experience, abundance. You name it, he's not lacking it. But if we're going against dribblers here, and who know their game plan to a T, and you're going to need someone with pace, and he's not scared to put attack. He's got a mistake. He's like Aguerd. He's got a mistake in him. There's no doubt about it. He's not the best centre back we've got. But if you're going to pick one or two based on opposition and the way that Brighton are playing at the minute, I think the most logical thing would be to go for Kera and then bring Ogbonna on at some point in the second half, depending on how things are going. But I think he'll go with Kera. I wouldn't be surprised with Ogbonna. To trust Ogbonna, especially the way that Ogbonna played against Chelsea when he came on was fantastic. So there's cases for both of them. But I think if you're going to go with energy and dribbling and stuff like that, then you go with Kera.
Yeah, I have to agree. I would go with Kerr on this one as well, and I suspect Moyes will go with Kerr. But we'll see. Like I say, it would be no shock if he went with Ogbonna, but I think Kerr is the best option for tomorrow. The other question is the midfield three. Do you think there's any prospect of a change there? Do you think there's any temptation for him to give Alvarez his debut from the start?
No, not at all. Not for me. I think the midfield worked too well for in his mind. It probably did, to be fair. The way it works with Prowse, you got the set piece and the passing. Souček, you got the guy breaking up the play and potentially scoring a goal at the other end. Paqueta's Paqueta. We all know what Paqueta is the star man, the playmaker, the skills guy, whatever. So there's no real reason to bring him in. To be fair, I wouldn't blame him for not changing either because it did work. And you can only really go off your last game. Realistically, if you lost 3-0 and played terrible in the last game, you might change it around. But we didn't. We got the win, and the midfield did their job. And we only conceded one goal, and the second half they played better. So the only other thing you'd do for me, you wouldn't play Alvarez, you'd play Fornals for his energy, for the fact that he likes to tackle, he likes to spread play when he gets the ball and things like that. But both of them come on as a sub. They've both done really well as a sub last week, so I don't think there's any reason for him to go. Let's just Moyes is a man of habit anyway, so he would like to keep it as well known as he can. He won't want to freshen things up too much. He's going to have to freshen up anyway due to the centre back situation. So I think he'll go for exactly the same thing as last week and have the JWP, Souček and Paqueta.
Yeah, I agree. I think the only change will be Kerr in for Aguerd. I don't see any other changes. So I guess I'll go first because you'll probably be a little bit more positive than me, and I'd like to finish on a positive note. As for the result tomorrow, I'll be honest, I'm not looking forward to this game. Thankfully, the shift I'm working tomorrow means I won't see the game. And I suspect what I'll see on Twitter when I finish my shift will probably kind of vindicate that I'm better off earning money at work. I don't think this is going to be good tomorrow. I really don't. I think we got away with a few things against Chelsea, I'll be honest. I didn't like our style of play. It wasn't good to watch. I mean, I think we had 24% possession, something like that, against Chelsea. It won't be much better, if at all, against Brighton tomorrow. I think their tails are up. They're playing really well. They look good. The home crowd is going to be really behind them and making a lot of noise. And we're going to sit back and try and play on the counter. And I think we'll be ineffective at it, to be completely honest. I don't think we'll score tomorrow, actually. And I think Brighton absolutely will. I think... Now, I don't think we're going to get tonked like we did.
It's your opinion. It's not,
Yeah. This is my opinion. I'm hopefully completely wrong.
I know.
But I'm not hanging my hat on the Chelsea result last week. I think Brighton are a very, very well coached team. Very well coached. They're not disjointed like Chelsea are. They're a proper team. They all know exactly what they're doing. And I think they will breach us a couple of times. I don't think we'll get a tonking like last season. I don't think it'll be anything as bad as that. I think we'll make it as difficult as we can for them to score, but I think they're good enough to find a way through a couple of times. I think we're going to get done 2-0 tomorrow, if I'm honest. I'm not confident in this one at all. So over to you, Luke.
Well, due to your glowing positivity, I need to top up. I don't think I'll be glass. It'll go with a bottle. Yeah, it's. I'm going to go with Desmond. I'm going to be positive, but not too positive. I think, like I said, they're on a high, but we're on a little bit of a high ourselves this week as well. So we've got to give ourselves a chance. I don't think we'll break the hoodoo, but I'm hoping we don't lose either. So 2-2. I won't say goal scorers because I think anyone can score in our team. To be fair, now with the set pieces, you got the centre backs who can get a goal as well. So 2-2. There's a part of me that would love it if we were 2-0 down and then come back 2-2 in the second half. I don't want it to be 2-0 and then we go and concede 2 goals because that has a bit of a different vibe to it, doesn't it? You sort of get that hype that we're going to do it and then we don't. So maybe just a 1-0, 1-0, 2-1, 2-2 or whatever. But yeah, we don't really tend to go for it late in the second half, which is why the penalty surprised me so much because we tend to sort of shut up shop a little bit, and especially at 2-1 and Emerson and Paqueta winning the penalty. I thought, that's
Emerson went AWOL.
He's mad. I don't know what he did.
Moyes was probably screaming at him when he saw him run past him. Where the fuck are you going?
I know. But that shows what happens when you push. That shows what happens when you push a little bit. Sometimes teams crack. And say they had a terrible debut, so that hammered it down. But yeah, I don't think we'll beat it, but I'm hoping we get a draw. So 2-2, would be great.
To answer Leon's question, on paper, no, but right now on form, and they look like a team. Brighton, they all know exactly what they're doing. They're in sync. Chelsea look disjointed, even though they've got a better team on paper, and have obviously spent a lot more money on their team. But right now, if Brighton are playing Chelsea, I quite fancy Brighton.
Yeah, same. Anyone really? If you put them against anyone at the moment in the form they're in, you'd City away, you'd fancy them to get a win, wouldn't you?
Yeah, but look, we're going to have to beat this fucking hoodoo at some point. It's going to happen at some point, and fingers crossed, that time comes tomorrow. I mean, I'll tell you what, man. If we go and play well and get something there, that would be a massively positive sign going forward. It really would, especially if we win. I mean, Jesus, if we go there and win, we're already in 7th. Are we 7th still? I don't know after tonight's game, but I mean, if we go there and get something, come out of these first 3 games, 5 points. That's very positive. Forget style of play and all that, but at the end of the day, it's all about getting points on the board, particularly if you can get them on the board early on. That tends to kind of keep you out of trouble down the line, in the table. If you can get some early points on the board. So yeah, I mean, it would be hugely positive, to get some points on the board tomorrow. Because it's Brighton away and they've been such a bogey team and they're playing so well, you'd almost take them any way you can get them, right? Tomorrow. Just, get something. I don't care how you get it. Just, it's all about getting some early points on the board. And we do have, Kudus to come in as well. So, he'll improve things.
Well, that's it. To get any sort of result, realistically, to not have you've got JWP, fair enough, but Alvarez, Mavropanos, and potentially Kudus not playing to get a draw, and depending on how we play the game, would be a massive positive as well. I mean, it may even play right into Moyes' hands that we don't need these 3 players because we don't need the 3 signings because we're perfectly fine as we are to get a draw, get away, get Brighton. But fundamentally, it would be positive for the team as they are, regardless of the new signings. And then hopefully the new signings would only improve us. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, well, we'll find out tomorrow. But I'm going to leave it there. because
Yeah,
I'm
no
at
worries.
work in the morning. Listen, really appreciate you jumping on, Luke. It's always nice to get your views on everything.
Thank
Uh,
you.
yeah, always nice to have someone else on the show as well, to bounce opinions off of and stuff and hear what they've got to say. I like hearing opposing opinions, getting different views. I know we probably agree on a lot, but there's other
Yeah, I know
things
you mean.
we differ. But I actually prefer hearing differing opinions rather than having someone who agrees
Yeah,
with me on everything. Rather getting different viewpoints as well from. I get them as well. In the live chat, there's plenty of people in there who view things differently to me, and that's absolutely fine. It's all about opinions as long as we're all respectful. Mikey says to start smiling. I'll tell you what, we beat Brighton tomorrow. I'll really be smiling. I tell you, you should have seen me. I was like a Cheshire cat after that Chelsea game. Oh, I love beating
I'd
them.
love to have seen that. I'd love to have seen that.
Oh,
Next
I
time
love
you are beaming, just send us a message, send us a photo of you beaming. That'll be sent to the group. Brilliant.
yeah,
Cheers, mate. Nice one.
as veiled. Is that a veiled compliment there? Is it? Was it from Nick? Is it?
Must be Nick. Yeah, must be Nick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
must be Nick. Yeah, that sounds like Nick, doesn't it? Listen, really appreciate you coming on, Luke. And
Nice one.
as I say, anytime, mate. Just I'll shoot you the link every week if you're available. Jump on. If not, obviously, stay la vie.
I'm about. If I'm not, I'm not. But I'll always try and make myself available. Hopefully, people like me seeing me and hearing what I've got to say. I mean, it might be here he is, he's back on again. Yeah, I don't know, but it's. I like being on here and waffling on as I do, and I don't want to be negative either. Is the thing. If anyone comes on and goes, "Oh, he's negative, he's more, he's out," I don't want to be. I really don't want to be. I want us to be scoring goals, having fun, everyone having a party atmosphere. It's fantastic, and that's what you want as a fan. You don't want it to be negative. The last thing you want to do is come on and moan. I know people think that these sort of channels are built, and the whole thing is let's get the negative views in because the views are more up. For me personally, I'm not about that. I'm about the positive stuff. So that's why I'm positive on here about tomorrow. I know the draw is not the most positive thing, but it's Brighton away. Come on, give me a break. I love it. So yeah, thanks for having me on tonight, Tommy. It's been great, and I'll try and make it as regular as I can.
Yeah, I'll have to have Steve Dillon. It says it'll be sogging them down in Castlelawn Nua if we beat them. Castlelawn Nua is Irish for Newcastle.
I didn't know that.
Well, yeah, so I don't know if he means down where I'm from in Tipperary or if he means Newcastle upon Tyne or what is it about. Where are you, Steve? I can't remember. You're in Ireland, but always welcome in Newcastle. But yeah. But yeah, listen, thanks to everyone in the live chat as well. And anyone who's watching, really appreciate it if you'd put a like, hit the like button, just because it pushes it out more in YouTube's algorithm, and it'll show up on more people's pages, and hopefully they'll give it a watch as well then. So I really appreciate it. If you're in the live chat, just hit the like button. It takes a couple of seconds. Or if you're watching it back later, maybe just give the video a like. Really helps with the channel and the show and everything. So I really appreciate it. But either way, appreciate you all being in the live chat. Hope you'll join me again next week. For everyone who's watched it back, appreciate it as well. And fingers crossed, we can finally get a win against Brighton tomorrow. Cross everything. Crossed hammers, crossed fingers, crossed toes, and anything else you're blessed enough to be able to cross. But until then, as always,